It's time to wake up. It's 5, and we're live.
Oh, is this thing on? I don't care. I want him to hear.
This is the Pregame Show, your early morning shot of sports on 95.7 The Game.
Come on, move on, Joe.
Oh, I'm feeling spectacular today. It's a Friday. Non-payday Friday, but it's a Phil Collins Friday nonetheless. And I'm fired up. We got Niners, we got Raiders, old school Battle of the Bay matchup, now in the desert out in Las Vegas. And I can't wait because we're going to see Brock Purdy. We're going to see Deebo Samuel. We're going to see George Kittle. Well, hopefully we see all those guys. I do know we're going to see Brock Purdy, though. And we're going to see the 49ers starters maybe for an entire half of football tonight, which is kind of crazy considering the last time they were in this stadium, Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, they lost the Super Bowl in overtime to the Kansas City Chiefs as KC went back-to-back and is now looking to three-peat heading into this season. So good morning to all you lovely people. 888-957-9570. That's the number to get involved. Call or text the Xfinity Mobile text line. Also hit me up on Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube. All powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Search any of those platforms. Like, subscribe. 95.7 The Game. Very simple. And if you're just getting off work, getting ready for work, getting ready for the weekend, I know school. Some people starting school on Monday. If you just started school any of the last couple of weeks, hey, congratulations, parents. Congratulations to the kids. Happy for all of you. If you're in college is starting up. Man, time flies. Summer's flown by. And now we got NFL football in just a couple weeks now. Real NFL football. We got a little taste of it tonight. A little appetizer, if you will. Raiders aren't going to be playing any of their starters per head coach Antonio Pierce. He announced that yesterday. So I'm just going to be looking at the Niners ones tonight. And what am I looking for? Well, first and foremost, I'm looking for 0 injuries. I mean, that's goes without saying. You don't want any injuries in the preseason before you start an actual game. Outside of that, can I get a drive with Brock Purdy that results in a touchdown or a scoring play? That would be nice. Can he matriculate the ball down the field a little bit? You know, no Brandon Ayuk, no Ricky Pearsall. Is Cowan going to play? Rookie out of Arizona. I'd like to see some more of him. I know he's a little bit behind per Kyle Shanahan, so he's playing catch up. But can Brock and him build something? And then you look at, the backup quarterback position. Josh Dobbs, Brandon Allen. Is it going to be Brock the whole first half? And then is it going to be Dobbs for the third quarter? Is it going to be Allen? Is Dobbs going to play? That's what you're looking for. And I do think it's going to be Josh Dobbs' job to lose at this point. I thought he was impressive last game against the Saints. I thought he showed what he could do when given the opportunity. I thought he showed that last year in actual football games, regular season football games, whether it was with the Arizona Cardinals and they upset the Dallas Cowboys. Remember that game? Early on in the season? Oh, well, Cardinals, the Cowboys are in shambles. Well, the Cowboys ended up winning their division. And then he gets traded to the Minnesota Vikings. No Kirk Cousins, bring in Josh Dobbs. And for a while there, I think I even texted in the thread during the season last year. I was like, is Josh Dobbs a top 4 quarterback in the NFC right now? I think I texted that during the Sunday Night Football game against the Broncos. And it was the first half, and I was like, oh, the Vikings are going to win again. I think they ended up losing that game. And then Dobbs was just not good. And then he got benched in that Raiders game, in which the only score was a field goal by Minnesota late in the game. Might have been gone to overtime. I don't even remember. And Nick Mullins got the win. But for a spot starter, if you need him to win a game or two, go with Josh Dobbs. Don't overthink it. Brandon Allen, great. He learned behind Joe Burrow and Brock Purdy for a year. Awesome. I need a guy that can actually win games that I have faith in. And I have faith in Josh Dobbs. And I have faith in George Kittle, who joined the morning roast yesterday with Bonte Shasky and Baldy, who was in for all 4 hours yesterday, the morning roast in studio. It was amazing. Love talking to Baldy. Love picking his brain. He was here for all 4 hours. You can find all of that show on our YouTube page, on the free Odyssey app. Just download either one of those. You'll find it there. But here's George Kittle, who joined us yesterday, and he was talking about his quarterback, Brock Purdy, and what we don't see from Brock. So we see all this stuff, right? We see, the intangibles, the extending of plays, the IQ, seeing the defense before they have a chance to react. All that high level stuff. We see that. We can quantify that. But what do we not see, George Kittle, when it comes to the greatness of Brock Purdy?
What you guys don't get to see is one thing I've always talked about that, I think is what elevates, just something that elevates quarterbacks or different quarterbacks is when you step into the huddle and, your voice and your presence gets the attention of all 10 other guys in the huddle. Because, I've been in a lot of huddles my entire career, and, while I love all the quarterbacks that I've played with, some of them are just, they've got it, whatever that is. And he steps into the huddle, and all 10 eyes are on him. Everybody's looking at him. And, just his confidence that he speaks these plays with, how his understanding of the offense, he gets it all, just in those 5 to 10 seconds that you're in this huddle. And just, I don't know if it's inspiring, but I think it's more of his confidence makes everybody else in the huddle more confident in themselves. And when you're in a huddle with Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel, and you're making them more confident than they already are, holy cow, that's
wow.
that is something that is very, very good for the 49ers.
You heard it there. It's the confidence that he instills in his other teammates. And Kittle's had a lot of different quarterbacks. Beathard, Garoppolo, Mullins. He's had a lot. Darnold. Brock has the respect and adoration of not just Hall of Famers like George Kittle, but Trent Williams. He's been around the block for a second. Deebo Samuel, that matters. When you have that trust factor with all of your players, offensive linemen, skill position, you see it. You do. I don't think we saw that with Jimmy Garoppolo all the time. Now, it's funny when you got a guy like Trey Lance and he gets hurt, and then you got people saying, Jimmy Garoppolo took over. That was 49ers football. All right, well, 49ers football under Jimmy Garoppolo. There was some high moments, but there were also some really bad ones. It was a mixed bag. But for Brock Purdy, it's really been all good to great, actually. I'm still waiting for the carriage to turn back into a pumpkin. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to ball out again this year and get paid. And deservedly so. Now, from year to year, we look at all players, and players look at themselves and say, what can we improve upon, right? What could Brock Purdy really improve upon from last season? I mean, the guy was an MVP candidate in his first full season in the NFL, coming off a bad elbow injury in an NFC Championship game, comes back from that, has to, I don't think, win the quarterback job, because I think it was really his all along. But if you want to say he won the job over Sam Darnold, Trey Lance, that's fine. But there was definitely some chatter from the media, from everyone. Oh, Sam Darnold, he's going to be the guy. Trey Lance, you invested all his draft capital. No. It was Mr. Irrelevant all along. But how does a guy like that improve when he's already come onto the scene so damn strong and he looks like a 10-year veteran at times? How do you even improve for that? Is it just winning the MVP? What is it? George Kittle on how Brock tries to improve himself.
Him in a huddle's fantastic. He's an incredibly hard critic on himself. He'll have a pass, he'll come if he didn't like it, hey, what were you thinking on that? I didn't like your angle out of this, or hey, that was a ball. I'm really sorry about that. I'm going to put that on you, or hey, we need to figure out. There's around. Hey, you're going to sit in the zone. Let's figure that out. So the next time we have that opportunity, we'll be 100% on it. And he's just so efficient with that, and I just really appreciate that about him.
So efficient. That's Brock Purdy. And I love hearing George Kittle speak about other football players, especially his teammates, because he is the ultimate hype man. I mean, he is made for WWE. They call him the people's tight end, right? That is what you want in a teammate. That is what you want in a quarterback. To have the love and adoration of all your guys, all your all-pro, all your future Hall of Famers. That speaks volumes. Now, it's interesting. We had George Kittle on yesterday in the morning roast. Then we had Vernon Davis on. Yeah, Vernon Davis, pretty good player. Multiple-time All-Pro, San Francisco 49ers legend. First-round pick out of Maryland. He joined Steiny and Evan Giddings, Evan filling in for Guru all week, doing a hell of a job. Goose should be back next week. But here's Vernon Davis. And I thought this was very fascinating. The question was, do you like Brock Purdy? Here's VD.
Yeah, I love Brock Purdy. I think he's great. I think he has a lot of potential. He has a lot of potential to be a great quarterback over time. Right now, he's shown us that he can go out and win games for sure, but we just don't know how consistent that's going to be because we haven't had enough data to show that Brock Purdy is here to stay.
Do you agree with that, 49ers fans? 888-957-9570. Do we not have enough data on Brock Purdy after a season and a half, we're calling it? Well, we can include the playoffs. Is that not enough data for you? Are you still skeptical on Brock Purdy? Does he have to show you more this season? 888-957-9570. Or if you had the opportunity to give him a contract now, would you do it? Would you just lock him up right now? Or are you saying, you know what? I'm with Vernon here. Let's see it again for one full season. What if he doesn't have Brandon Ayuk? What if he doesn't have Trent Williams? How's that going to look? I just thought that was interesting. That's the first time I feel like I've heard from a former 49er in Vernon Davis being a little skeptical on Brock. He's been great. I need to see more, though. Do you need to see more, 49ers fans? 888-957-9570, because part of me understands what Vernon's saying, right? Like, you have to earn year after year after year, and eventually you get that benefit of the doubt. Like Russell Wilson for the longest time had that benefit of the doubt, right? It's like, oh, that's Russ. He's been here. He's done that. He can carry this team if you need him to. Oh, it's a down year, but you know what? They don't really have a good defense. The offensive line's in shambles. It's not his fault. Brock hasn't earned that yet. If the offense struggles, it's going to be Brock's fault. It gets to a point where it's never the quarterback's fault, though. I mean, Tom Brady, greatest ever, it was never his fault. You know, you go through Drew Brees for a certain amount of time. Wasn't his fault. Aaron Rodgers, not his fault. He hasn't earned that just yet. Now, sometimes you have a pick here, there, you have a bad stretch, stuff like that. Sure, you can say. But for the most part, it takes 4, 5, 6 years to build that up. Hell, even guys like Dak Prescott, who aren't on the level of some of those guys I just mentioned. Like, Dak has now gotten himself into the position where, for the longest time, oh, it wasn't Dak Prescott's fault. Now, you start to get into that. Okay, now Dak's, he might be holding us back. Okay, now guys like, you know what? You know, Kirk Cousins might be holding us back from going over the top, from where we want to be. Derek Carr, he might be holding us back. But in between that, they got the benefit of the doubt because they had established themselves for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. I think it's going to take the same with Brock Purdy. A year and a half is not enough for some people. I know what my eyes tell me, and within this offense, he's for real and he's going to stay for a very long time. Within this offense, though. But things change. The league adjusts. But I do have faith that Shanahan is always going to try to stay one step ahead of everyone else because guy's just obsessed with the game of football. And that's who you want as your head coach. He's obsessed with the X's and O's. He's obsessed with the offense and staying ahead of the defense, whether that's Mike McDonald over in Seattle now, right? Whether that's Jonathan Gannon over in Arizona. Any of these top defensive guys. He's going to try to stay a step ahead. And Brock is going to be his guy. But how long is Brock going to be that guy for Kyle Shanahan? Well, if you're giving him $300 million, you better hope it's for a long time. That's for damn sure. I wanted to get some more into what Vernon Davis actually said yesterday. Again, tremendous interview. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on the Odyssey app via the River Islands guest line. Here's Vernon Davis on holdouts affecting the team. And the latest I saw from Mike Silver, who covers the team for the San Francisco Chronicle, he was saying everything's still on the table. This was from yesterday. Steelers are on the table. He mentioned the Washington Commanders being on the table for Brandon Ayuk. That's interesting. They just traded Jahan Dotson to Philadelphia, an in-division trade. So they got, Jaden Daniels over there. They got Terry McLaurin. They got Luke McCaffrey, the brother of Christian they just drafted, rookie out of Rice. It makes sense. Adam Peters knows Brandon Ayuk. He's now the GM or whatever it is. Is it the GM, president of football operations? I don't know what they're calling it. No, Bob Myers is there too. I'm sure he's talked to Brandon Ayuk. How is this holdout affecting the 49ers, though, Vernon Davis?
I think it can affect the team if the player isn't out there with the guys. That's how I think it can affect you. But as far as contract negotiations and things of that nature, I think as a player, I'm gonna let that player and that agent work things out themselves. You know what I mean? I want the best for my teammate. I want him to get paid. I want him to make his money and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, I still got to do what I got to do. It's like I was telling someone else. I was like, hey, look, it's an honor and privilege to be able to be in the NFL on any team. So at the end of the day, I don't really have the right or say so when it comes to making things move. I can make my suggestions, but that's up to that player and his agent to get that done. But I do want my player, especially if I'm a leader, I want this guy in the locker room because I know he's going to help us win football games.
And that's been pretty much the status quo with a lot of the players. Hey, I'm rooting for my teammate. Get the money. You do you. But at the same time, you got to be thinking in the back of your head if you're one of the teammates, like, God, if we don't have Brandon, this is really going to suck. Right? If I'm George Kittle, if I'm Deebo Samuel, it's like, God, just we're so close to the Super Bowl. Now we're going to lose our second team All-Pro wide receiver. For what? For what? Like, that stuff, you can't tell me that doesn't linger in the players' heads, in their minds. That stuff, like the Cranberry said, you have to let it linger. You do. You absolutely do. And this whole thing just is, it's exhausting to talk about. I'll tell you that. It has to be exhausting for the players. It does. They can say as much as they want that it's just like, oh, it's a business. I knew it affected the team last year in the defense when Nick Bosa was out. I mean, I kept hearing all you, this isn't the same defense. This isn't the same defense. This isn't the same defense. Well, when your best defensive player and the reigning DPOY doesn't show up until a couple days before week 1 of the NFL season, that's what happens. When you try to put a Band-Aid over everything and try to go get Randy Gregory, go get, Chase Young. That's what happens. Speaking of Randy Gregory, is he still MIA from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Look at Randy Gregory. Yeah, what's he doing? Yeah, this is the headline. Yeah. They released him yesterday. Okay. There we go. And he's expected to retire now. Former Broncos free agent bust inexplicably never showed up to his new team. That's pretty wild. Hope he's okay. Like, that's just not showing up. It's not even saying anything. Weird. Very weird. Here's more from Vernon Davis on how to avoid a Super Bowl hangover. And plus, I want to get Kittle's thoughts on this as well. Again, it's the 49ers' first trip back to Las Vegas since losing the Super Bowl. How do you feel about that if you're a 49ers player? Well, first, I want to get Vernon Davis' thoughts. Then I'm going to get George Kittle's.
Yeah, Super Bowl 47 was definitely one to remember. I think back on that day, and I just kept telling myself after that game was over, it wasn't our time. It wasn't our time. But I also kept the faith that we were going to get back and have another opportunity. It didn't come with the 49ers for me, but I still take the good out of it. And the good is that I had an opportunity to play on the biggest stage there is, which is the Super Bowl. I had a great opportunity for that. So I just take that with me wherever I go.
And Vernon obviously ended up winning a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos at Levi Stadium in Super Bowl 50 when they defeated the Carolina Panthers. George Kittle, how do you move on from a Super Bowl loss?
I'm pretty good at flushing stuff and moving on. Like, if you let things linger and control, like, your thought process and stuff, I mean, it's just going to slow you down for the next upcoming season. There's nothing I can do to change what happened. Would have preferred to win. We didn't. But if I just let that continue to linger, it's just going to affect my overall performance and attitude for this upcoming season. And the great thing about football is it just keeps coming every single year. It's just there right again. It's ready to, you're either going to take advantage of the opportunity that's in front of you, or you're going to let it like just hit you in the face. So I think we're really excited to go back there. And, you might have an emotion or two when you walk into the stadium, for sure. Like, I'm not going to try to suppress that by any means, but I'm pretty good. I like where my team's at. The guys are feeling good, and I'm just excited to go play football because I actually get to, lace up the cleats for a preseason game.
So George isn't sweating it. And if you watch the Receiver doc on Netflix, that doesn't surprise you. It doesn't surprise you. I mean, that's the guy's just wired like that. He just has an infectious energy. But I'm sure there's going to be a moment tonight, when he's on the field, he's playing with Brock Purdy, catches a ball, maybe he gets a touchdown, I don't know. And he's looking around, it's just like, damn. We were an overtime away from winning a Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, all of them in Las Vegas. Just came up short. And that's okay. Means you're human. But how do the 49ers get back to the Super Bowl in New Orleans this season? First and foremost, get your Hall of Fame left tackle figured out. Get your all-pro wide receiver back, and then we can start having that discussion. Until that happens, this team is not going to be in the Super Bowl. Until I see Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk out there, and more so Trent Williams, and maybe he's just doing all this because he doesn't want to practice, which, it might be the case. But I need to see it to believe it. And speaking of the contenders and the favorites in the NFC, I think most people would say the 49ers. I mean, Vegas has it like that. I think the top two odds is the teams that were in the Super Bowl last year, Chiefs and the Niners. But who else in the NFC are you fearing? Or do you not fear anyone, 49ers fans? Here's Jason Lockenfora, our Odyssey NFL insider, talking about some of the NFC favorites that he likes. Again, he joined 95.7 the game yesterday via the River Islands guest line.
I like Green Bay. And look, we all saw that football game. I mean, it very easily have had the scenario where the Green Bay Packers advanced, out of San Francisco. They were the youngest team in the league. They really gelled. I just love what they're building there. There's no way their special teams can be as bad as they've been forever. And I like the defensive coordinator hire. The quarterback is just scratching the surface. I like Green Bay. And look, if the Rams, I hear Cooper Kupp is looking good, and if they can keep Stafford on the field, I think it's going to be a real dogfight between the Rams and the 49ers. So I don't think it's going to be like last year. I don't think people are going to be crowning that division, at Thanksgiving or anything like that.
Well, the Niners have owned that division for a while now. But I would say the Rams are the only team that would give me a little bit of, okay, I saw what they did last year. They played the Detroit Lions very tough in that opening game on Wild Card weekend. And, Stafford looked really good after getting blasted early in that game too. He was definitely concussed for that second half, but he still looked incredible at times. And again, that was probably one of the biggest highlights of Jared Goff's career, getting traded from the Rams. Stafford comes over to LA. He wins his Super Bowl. Jared Goff gets the revenge game. They're chanting Jared Goff's name. That's all-time moment for Jared and the Lions right there for sure. Here's more from Lockenfora, and this one was interesting to me too. Talking about the vibes with this team. We like to use that term all the time. Shasky was using it yesterday. Baldy just brings great vibes into the studio, right? What are the vibes right now, Jason, when it comes to this 49ers locker room?
I mean, off, funky. You got two of their most important players at war with the team over the money. And look, there's a lot of people who feel like when stuff gets real, Trent will get put to bed, and you know what I mean? No harm, no foul, and you don't want the big man doing anything anyway. But again, until it's done, it's not. So, I mean, again, you want to talk Super Bowl losing curse, we can. You want to talk about, locker room being a little off because guys who have done what they think they have done enough for that team to get paid there are having trouble getting paid there. Then you want to talk about whatever, how things have looked at some practices or how things have looked at some preseason games. You want to talk about, hey, maybe the Rams and Seattle, maybe even Arizona are a little better than some people think. I mean, you could start building a case for this year could certainly be at least far more challenging than last year.
I think it will be far more challenging simply because I just think the NFC is better, right? Like the depth in the NFC, not to say that they're on the level of the AFC yet, just because the quarterback play in the AFC, I just think is still so top tier. But I will say this, Jordan Love, he's coming. Caleb Williams, yeah, I don't care if it's a couple preseason games. I know what I saw at USC, and I know what I'm going to see in Chicago this year. He's going to be special. He's coming too. Like, the NFC is going to be up to par with the AFC sooner rather than later. I truly believe that. And Brock Purdy was an MVP candidate last year. Can we give him some respect too? Matt Stafford, yes. He's one of the only other quarterbacks in the NFL, starting quarterbacks, because I know Joe Flacco is still a backup. And we'll get to Joe Flacco in a second, because I don't know if you guys watched the Amazon Prime broadcast last night. Herb Street, Al Michaels. But Herb Street said something that made me just say, what are you talking about in regards to Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson? So we're going to play that maybe the next segment. But the NFC's getting there. And Matt Stafford, he's won a Super Bowl. I don't scoff at something like that. He might be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. When you look at all the numbers and stats and all that sort of stuff. He might be. And then, yeah, you got Jared Goff. Say what you will about him. Guy got paid. He was, a half of football away from going to a Super Bowl. And he's already been to one with the Los Angeles Rams. And I don't scoff at that. I don't. I think we like to poo-poo Jared Goff a lot, and I've been guilty of it. But I'm going to give him his flowers, because last year, that was the greatest season of Lions football I think any of us have ever seen. And Jared Goff was at the helm of that. So I like the NFC a lot this year, which I think is why I'm a little skeptical that this 49ers team can win 12, 13, 14 games. Maybe 12 is the high water mark that I see them for. 13 feels like a stretch. What say you? 888-957-9570. It's a Phil Collins Friday. It's a Feel Good Friday. And it's a pregame show Friday on 95.7 The Game.
Joe Shasky here, and I got to tell you, UA Local 38, it isn't just a union.
You're listening to the Pregame Show with Joe Spadoni, right here on 95.7 The Game.
Thanks, Vontae Hill, morning roast. 28 minutes. One segment down, 2 more to go here on the Pregame Show, though. Phil Collins Friday. We're rolling. We're talking preseason. We got Niners-Raiders action tonight. We got Giants-Mariners in Seattle starting a 3-game series off tonight. Scott Service, gone. Mariners had like a 10-game lead in that division like a month ago, and now they're 5 back of the Astros. I kept telling all of you people, don't sleep on the Houston Astros. I've been saying it all summer long. Sam knows what I'm talking about. Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys pod. I've been saying it. Do not let this team linger.
They're basically the Chiefs of Major League Baseball.
They are. Like, this is what they do. You cannot, it's like the ring. The one ring to rule them all. Thing's hard to kill, man. Even at the very end, when they try to throw it into the fiery pits of Mount Doom. They threw the ring in, and then there was like this little like soot that like prevented it from falling into the hot lava. And then like Gollum fell on it, and the rest is history. Spoiler alert. I know the book's been out for like 200 years or whatever. But come on. Don't sleep on the Astros. You just can't. But the Mariners did, and they got their manager fired. So is that good or bad for the Giants this weekend? Did that light a fire under the Mariners, who have been equally as awful offensively as the Giants? I think they're 2-8 in their last 10. They've really fallen off. Oof.
Over under combined runs this weekend, like 8 or 9.
Yikes.
Like literally the only team hitting worse than the Giants over the last month and a half is probably the Mariners.
You know, there was a funny stat I saw yesterday. I think it was Madsen had it. Our boy Kyle Madsen over at ESPN 1320 in Sacramento. The A's and Rays. Oh, by the way, the A's got a win yesterday. They got the 4-game split there, Sammy. I got to hit the sounder here. Come on. Here we go. The A's and Rays played 7 times this year, and neither team scored more than 4 runs in any of those games. I thought it was an interesting little stat. Pitching, am I right? Mason Miller gets the save again. I forget who it was. A Tampa Bay Ray was making his debut or was up for the last week or something in the bigs, and he got his first ever hit off of Mason Miller. 101 miles an hour, too. That's pretty cool. Hey, if you don't do anything ever again, I got a hit off one of the nastiest closers we've ever seen. That's pretty sick. And who knows? Mason Miller might turn back into a pumpkin, too. You see that a lot with relievers. With his stuff, I don't see that happening, but hey, you can always have that story. And speaking of stories, is there a better story in football last year than the comeback player of the year, Joe Flacco, coming in off the bench in Cleveland, leading that team to the playoffs before getting absolutely annihilated against C.J. Stroud and the Texans? I mean, what Kevin Stefanski did last season was pretty incredible. P.J. Walker, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, obviously Deshaun Watson was hurt, and then old man Joe Flacco just coming in there, hooking up with Amari Cooper, and they got to the playoffs, and it was an incredible season. Now Flacco backing up Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis. That got Kirk Herbstreit thinking last night on the broadcast, Amazon Prime. We had the Colts. We had, who was it, the Bengals, Joe Burrow. I saw them interviewing him about his Frosted Tips. Here's what Herbstreit had to say when they were talking about a potential quarterback controversy this year in Indianapolis.
Let me ask you something here. If you're Shane Steichen, best case scenario, Anthony Richardson, he lives up to what we all hope he can do. Running, throwing, he's healthy. This team has a great year, and he's a superstar, right? What if he struggles? What if he has a good drive or a good game and then a bad game, a good game and a bad game? He's a pick. Everybody's kind of expecting him to be the guy. You got a guy like Joe Flacco with the roster they have. I just wonder how you handle that if it goes down that path if you're Shane Steichen, because you know what you're going to get in Joe Flacco.
Yeah, you're going to get a 39-year-old quarterback. Like, why are we overthinking this? This is Anthony Richardson's basically his redshirt season. He was hurt early last year, and now you need him to play. What I do not need is a Trey Lance situation where he's not playing at all. No. Anthony Richardson struggles. He's playing through those struggles. He's 22 years old. He's got to figure it out. And this is a guy that came into the NFL raw as hell. I mean, the intangibles are all there, though. 6'4", 250, stacked, runs like a gazelle. I mean, the talent, the arm, everything. It's off the charts. You can just see that. But he has to get more polished. Just like Josh Allen, just like Cam Newton. And actually, Cam Newton, maybe I shouldn't use him because Cam Newton came in as Heisman Trophy winner, one of the great seasons we've ever seen in college football history with Auburn. Like, he was incredible. He was ready. He was a number 1 overall pick. You knew what you were getting for the most part for Cam, and that was box office, and that's what he was for a good portion of his career. Anthony Richardson, much more raw than that. That's why I think the Josh Allen comp is actually a little bit better, because Allen was a little raw. Coming out of Wyoming, not a big school like Florida, where Anthony Richardson, AR-15 is coming out of. But the accuracy was the issue for Josh Allen. Accuracy for Anthony Richardson. That's what he has to work on. And how do you get better from doing it? You got to play. So no, if he struggles in a game against the Texans or the Jaguars, you're going to bench him for Joe Flacco, who's 39 years old? You're not winning a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. That's the goal. I need to win a Super Bowl one day with my young quarterback. You know who's in that division? Who's going to be there for a long time? CJ Stroud, who I just mentioned, with the Houston Texans. You just see what he did in his first year? That guy stayed healthy. He might have won MVP as a rookie. That's how insane CJ Stroud was last year. And Trevor Lawrence, who, say what you will, I know he's been inconsistent. The guy does have a playoff win under his belt. He is, at times dynamic. He has the arm. He has the athleticism. He has the talent, the height, the size, all of it. He just needs to put it together more consistently. But when he's on, he's very good. And he just got paid, so he's going to be sticking around for some time. You got Will Levis with Tennessee. We'll see with that. But I need my young guy to pan out because all of a sudden now the AFC South is looking a little scary with young quarterbacks who could usher in that new era in the AFC. We've got Lamar, we've got Joe Burrow, we've got Patrick Mahomes, we've got Josh Allen. This next young crop could be the ones to take over 4 or 5 years down the line. And if I'm the Colts, I need it to be Anthony Richardson, not Joe Flacco, because Joe Flacco's going to be out of the league 3, 4, 5 years down the line. Like that one caught me off guard last night. I was listening to it, and Al Michaels is half asleep half the time, anyways. I don't blame the guy. It's just you have the opportunity, I think, to move on from him. I don't know why you haven't. I mean, if anything, I'm trying to get Joe Davis and Greg Olsen as that Thursday night broadcast team. Trying to get Greg Olsen in there, absolutely. And I like Kirk, defended Kirk. I think he's very good on college football. I just think NFL in that broadcast, it's lacking. It's lacking something. What is it? The French, je ne sais quoi? I don't know. It's lacking something. Pizzazz. Life, really. It just feels lifeless a lot. Sterile, whatever you want to use. That take was also just, I don't get it. 510, that's disrespectful. Richardson is a stronger arm Tebow. Relax. Come on, man. Please. Anthony Richardson was a legit top 10 NFL talent as a quarterback. Like, Tim Tebow shouldn't even sniff the first round, but that was a Josh McDaniels special, who, as we all know, refused to trade up for CJ Stroud when they had the opportunity to do so last year because he just wasn't his kind of quarterback. He'd rather have gone into last season with Jimmy Garoppolo. What a jerk. That guy, just stay out of the NFL forever, Josh. Jesus. Still can't get over that. All right. We got one more segment. Now I'm angry. Now I'm upset. And every time if Josh McDaniels' name gets uttered at this station, I just get mad and angry. And this is supposed to be a feel-good Friday and a Phil Collins Friday. But now I'm angry and I'm upset. And I blame you, 510 on the Xfinity mobile text line. We'll take a quick break. Come on back. I'll try to get more excited and try to preview more Niners Raiders preseason football tonight on 95.7 The Game.
In business, success is never by chance. You know that better than anyone.
The Game.
Oh, it's all right, Sammy. You will be fine this year. I do agree with Paul Feinbaum. Number 2, Ohio State is under the most special in that one. Well, Ryan Day, that's the guy. Not just him. It's just he's gone after this year. They're not in at least the college football playoff, but everyone's getting the college football playoff this year, right? Yeah. I can't wait for college football. That's starting this weekend. Who do we got this weekend? I need to look that up. CFB slate. Here we go. Week 1, baby. All right. What do we got? Oh, we got Florida State tomorrow morning. Oh, Bonte's going to be up bright and early tomorrow. 9 a.m. Oh, Georgia Tech. They don't run the triple option anymore, though. That was when it was fun because that was when, like, you'd have that Georgia Tech Clemson game at the end of the year and Clemson's, like, clinging to try to get into the championship. But the triple option, I don't know. It'll be a tight game. Now it's whatever. I do think it's funny, though, that, like, two of the best like at their position. So Calvin Johnson, obviously Georgia Tech Hall of Famer, but Darren Waller sneakily out of Georgia Tech out of nowhere. He was one of the best tight ends in football for a couple of years, and that was when they ran the triple option. So Florida State, 9 a.m. Bonte will be up, and Bonte will be on the air here in about 10 minutes or so. We're talking 49ers preseason. They're playing the Raiders. And listen, I'm not, should they play? Should they not play? I don't care if they're playing. If they're playing, play all the starters. That's all. As far as I'm concerned, that's it. If you're playing, play everyone. If you're not, play no one. Like the Raiders and Antonio Pierce are not playing anyone. So just pick one, play them for a half, play them for a quarter, a couple series. I don't care. Just go out there and not try to make your quarterback look stupid with a bunch of scrubs like last week, because that's what happened. Brock Purdy looked like a scrub because he was playing with a bunch of scrubs. That's kind of what happens. You're a product of your environment. Look at Tom Brady's last year in New England. Was not great. The fact that he even had a home playoff game actually, I think, speaks volumes to that. All right, what else have we got in this college football? Oh, we got Sac State, San Jose State. Huge rivalry game there. It's on True TV. Oh, Clemson, Georgia. That's the one. Okay. All right. That's next week, though. That's next week. I'm excited. I'm excited. I usually don't really get into college football until like rivalry, like halfway through the season, because that's when I really start to dig deep into NFL, start getting my bearings. But everyone else around the country is all locked in on college football this weekend. And you know what? I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all. From the Xfinity Mobile text line, it's a Philip and Phil Friday. That's from 925. Philip, talking about Philip Rivers, another Colts legend. I still can't get over Kirk Herbstreit talking about. Did he really try to start a quarterback controversy with Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson? The sheer age difference is also hilarious because Flacco is basically heading, where did he go? Delaware or something like that for college. He was basically heading into his freshman year of college when Anthony Richardson was being born. That is kind of crazy. That's wild. That's like Tom Brady playing Brock Purdy just a year or two ago. Just insane, the age gap with some of these guys. Hey, listen, shout out Flacco, though, man. That guy has had a hell of a career. Super Bowl MVP. I know we don't like talking about Niners fans. A lot of big playoff wins, too. And in that division against the Pittsburgh Steelers, against the Bengals, they had the Andy Dalton era during that time, too, and Big Ben. Like, the Browns stunk for most of his career when he was over in Baltimore. But, Lamar Jackson came in and he didn't give up. He kept playing. He had the New York Jets gig for a little bit. Didn't work out there. Obviously, we talked about the Browns. Now back up for the Colts. We'll see. I think they had a Broncos stint there too. I think Joe Flacco opened as the Broncos starter at the Coliseum after that whole Antonio Brown debacle offseason. And the Raiders ended up winning that game week 1. And I remember the crowd at the Coliseum just chanting FAB. That was a good memory at the Coli. It's a great memory. All right. George Kittle joined the Morning Roast yesterday, courtesy of the River Islands guest line. And obviously you can find that entire interview on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Odyssey app, wherever you want to find it. But George was incredible, as he always is. He joined Bonte, Shasky, and Baldy, who was in studio yesterday for 4 hours. And this one was interesting to me because I think this is an under-discussed part of not having Brandon Ayuk and not having Trent Williams. And yes, it's the fact that they're not on the field and building that rapport with all the players, but it's kind of, we went back to the term vibes. That's the thing. Like, Fred Warner and Brandon Ayuk love trash talking each other. And I think that sets the tone for the rest of the team, right? Like, that's what you feed off of. That's what you build off of. The camaraderie, the trash talk, but the mutual respect at the end of the day for your competitor and for your teammate. So who's Fred Warner trash talking to now, George Kittle? Well, Brandon Ayuk's been out.
You know what? It's been a little bit different for Fred just because, his guy Dre Greenlaw's not out there right now, and, those two bounce a lot of energy off of each other. And so people he's talking trash to, I would say it'd be either the running backs or occasionally me or Purdy. I'd say he wants someone to talk trash to him, and I usually just give him the silent treatment because it frustrates him. And that's kind of one of my favorite things to do is to frustrate Fred Warner.
Here's more on Georgia going up against that Niners defense in practice every day.
A little bit here and there. It's kind of fun. Nick Bosa is still Nick Bosa, so, that's its own problem in itself. So that's difficult to go against every single day, but that's a great problem to have. What's really fun for me is getting to go up against Leonard Floyd because, you'll see him. He's in the 3-point. He's in the 2-point. He was an outside linebacker for the Rams and Bills, and now, has his hand in the dirt, but he kind of bounces between. And getting to go against someone like that who I headbutted twice a year for like 5 years, it's kind of fun to have him on my team and just kind of talk shop with him. So there are some differences and little nuances, and it's going to get called a little bit differently this year, but I'm looking forward to it because I think Coach Sorensen's going to have he has a great team, and he's been a part of the defense too, so he kind of knows what people are good at. I think he's just going to continually put people in the right position to succeed.
That's kind of an underappreciated storyline heading into the season too, I think, is that just that defensive landscape of the San Francisco 49ers. Because obviously last year with Steve Wilkes, something was off all season long. The players, the coaches, everyone was trying to throw Wilkes under the bus. And you know what? This was his first year adopting this system. He was doing his best, as we like to say, as I say about my little guy. He's doing his best. They had the whole booth gate. Should he be up in the booth? Should he be down on the sideline? He eventually comes down the sideline. I'm going to defend the guy. I don't care if people just are going to be mad or upset. They had to move on. The biggest freaking game of the year. Who showed up more? Offense or the defense of the San Francisco 49ers? Who showed up more in that game? It's the defense. You hold Patrick Mahomes to one touchdown in regulation, and that was because of a muffed special teams play. Hey, you know what? I would hang my head high if I'm Steve Wilkes. I don't know if he's been signed. I don't know if I think he's taking the year off. Maybe he's on another coaching staff right now, but man, talk about a rough way to lose that game and rough way for that season to end, and Steve Wilkes getting canned shortly after that. But here comes Nick Sorensen, came up through the organization, obviously spent some time bouncing around the league. I think he was on Urban Meyer's staff. He got into it with Urban one time on the sideline. I think that's actually a good sign when you're kind of checking back Urban Meyer and that debacle. Just the fact that I still, and we're talking about college football a little bit earlier, the fact that I still see Urban Meyer on my pre and post game when it comes to college football, I roll my eyes sometimes. I get it. Tremendous head coach at the college level, but my God, absolute dumpster fire of an NFL head coach. Probably the worst coached season ever. It's him and Nate Hackett, man. And that's it. At least in my lifetime. Just God awful. Oh, man. But apparently, he prides himself as a man of faith. So that's okay. Shout out Tom Brenneman. All right. If those of you who are wondering who's going to win this backup job, I know it's just really keeping you up at night. It's like, God, who's going to win this backup quarterback job? That's such good problems to have right now. I don't think 49ers fans are appreciating it right now. I get it. The holdouts are kind of just having this dark cloud over the organization. But the fact that the Niner fans don't have to worry about a quarterback, that's got to be relieving, at least for this season. Because you're playing a team tonight, that's all they've known is quarterback problems for a long time. Yeah, they had Derek Carr for a little bit, but once he got hurt, it was never the same. And he had half the fan base split, whether this guy's the guy or not. And now you got Aiden O'Connell battling Gardner Minshew, and Gardner Minshew is going to be the quarterback week 1 when they play the Los Angeles Chargers down at SoFi Stadium. Jim Harbaugh, welcome back to the NFL. But that's what it could be like if you don't have your quarterback. That's what it could look like. And the Raiders, they might be average. I don't think they're going to be very good this year. I was talking about with, our friend, nice guy, Stephen Langford, formerly of the Pregame Show, now over at KCBS doing a hell of a job. So we see each other constantly, and we're just talking about it. I don't have great vibes going back to that term about the Raiders this year. I don't. And that wouldn't be the worst thing if they stunk. It wouldn't be the worst thing. Why? Because you haven't drafted a quarterback in the first round in 17 years. And you need to do that. So, you know what? If they're going to stink this year, although the quarterback's looking like slim pickings next year. Is it Shedeur Sanders? Do you want that nightmare? Cam Ward, is that another guy? Is he going to be good? I don't know. But just be grateful, 49ers fans, that you don't have to worry about your quarterback controversy outside of the backup for this season, because that could be annoying. It weighs on a fan base for a very long time. It does. All right. Got a minute left here. My final thoughts on this week. Still no Brandon Ayuk. Still no Trent Williams. The Giants lost to the White Sox. They're taking on a team that is equally as putrid offensively, who just fired their manager. So, first to 2 wins this weekend? First to 2, is that what is going to happen? We'll see. Coming up next, it's the morning roast. Can't wait. Vontae Hill, he's feeling it. He's wearing his Niners gear. Sam Lubman is wearing a jersey that I haven't seen in a very, very long time. That's a tease on what jersey Sam Lubman's wearing. We're going to discuss that next. Morning roast on 95.7 The Game.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game. KG